Welcome to Mempadudhal, a space created to help you be a better you.
This video is a discussion about why do we need to teach emotional intelligence to children? Because when I started developing the training for improving emotional intelligence among children, some parents were like, do we really have to teach them these things? So I thought it probably is a common question, and I will share my thoughts on why I think it is important to teach them. So when we look at the children of this day and age, we can easily mistake that they have such a cool life. And some of us even go to the extent of giving them a lecture about how hard we had it back in those days. With the gadgets and gizmos, yes, it appears much cooler, but that is only the surface. Dig deeper and you discover several challenges that these children face, right from peer pressure, parental pressure, lesser touch time with families because we're all going into nuclear families, body shaming, more opportunities to get distracted and fall off track. Well, several people who have had challenging upbringing, difficult background, have worked their way up and got on to become very successful in their lives and even had fulfilling life. But that is not the norm. It pained me to read about a 10-year-old girl who gave up her life because her pet parrot flew off the cage. Either she was worried that her parents are going to tell her off for allowing it to fly because she opened the cage and it just flew away, or she was just too sad by the separation and she couldn't deal with it and she took her life. We can't say. The child is no longer there to express to us why they felt so low to the point that they decided to take their life. Just before recording this video, I was watching the news and yet another report of a girl giving her life away just because she couldn't get her hands on a cell phone so that she could continue her education because of the pandemic. Lessons are all taught online. It is extremely sad that children are struggling to deal with their emotions during these adverse times. So, absolutely important to understand what is running in their minds and giving them the support to deal with it. So, many children struggle to cope with disappointments. When things do not go as per their plan or expectations, they do not understand how to handle it. Somehow the coming generation seems to just crave instant gratification, and when it does not happen, they feel stressed and they feel lost and helpless. We need to catch them young. If we do not, then we shouldn't really wonder why childhood depression and emotional problems or mental health problems are on the rise. When these children become adults, they're not going to miraculously get the ability to understand how to deal with these emotions. At some point, they will have to start learning. And I strongly feel that giving them that knowledge of how to deal with these right from a young age will give them a better chance of being successful in life and feeling fulfilled in their life as well. So, in the article where I had shared about an introduction to emotional intelligence, and there's a video on that as well, I've explained how there are three key aspects: being self aware of the emotions, and being able to self regulate the emotions, and empathizing are the main aspects of emotional intelligence. And as a parent, you may wonder if you really have to teach the children these things, how to deal with emotions. Isn't that just part of growing up? Well, absolutely. They need to be taught, and that does not always have to be a lecture or a classroom session. There are subtle ways to help children develop self awareness and regulation. You may have heard of the terrible two. One of the reasons why that age is described that way is because it is said that at that age is when the children realize that their emotions, what they feel, is different from their mother or their primary carer. usually it's the mother. So until then, in their little world, they shared the emotions, they shared the feelings, but suddenly the child feels frustrated and yet the mother doesn't feel frustrated. So they realize that their emotions and feelings are separate and they do not quite know how to deal with that. And that is one of the primary reasons that tantrums are on the rise when they turn 2, and anywhere between 2 to 4, you will notice that the tantrums are on the rise. Some of you would have even had experience with your children where they struggle to express even physiological needs. Like my son would not be able to express that he was hungry, although he was a very good talker, but he could not relate to the feeling that he gets in his tummy to the need for nourishment. So it was the cranky behavior that was a symptom of hunger. So if you think of how physiologically they are not able to relate it, then imagine how hard it must be for the very many emotions that they feel in their mind, how they would struggle to identify them and do something about it. I was talking to a lady that runs sensory classes for children with speech difficulty. They are a normal school, but they're slightly behind in their speech. One of the observations that she made was that when these children were presented with emojis, if you like, smiley face, happy face, and so on, not all of them were able to identify what sort of emotion is coming out from that face. And that felt quite sad. And one of the reasons she said it could be was because of the less and less touch time that they get with people and increasing touch time with gadgets. So it's quite difficult to understand emotions from a gadget. Let's look at a couple of scenarios. So imagine when your child is frustrated with a homework because he or she does not understand the concept and they're frustrated. They're just beginning to throw things all over the place and they are yelling, or they may say they do not want to go to school the next day and you're trying to figure out why that is because your child has not told you. You don't necessarily understand what is going on. You just think it is one more tantrum. The child is just trying to be hard, difficult. But imagine another scenario where the child is able to recognize that they are feeling frustrated because they've been trying their homework and they've not been successful, so they feel frustrated by that. And then they make a choice about how to deal with that frustration. So they choose to talk to you about their difficulty and seek your help. Now, between these two scenarios, can you see the world of difference there will be? And it is these little things that add up in a later life. And it is these little things that usually steal the happiness and the positive vibe in households. Every tantrum just adds to your stress and the stress for the child. And if you can avoid those tantrums by dealing with them constructively, both parties, the parent and the child, imagine how much more pleasant our families would be. Now, there was another scenario where a teenage girl in her higher teens, her mother had fallen ill. Normally the mother runs all the errands, and when the mother had fallen ill, this girl wasn't too concerned about what had happened to the mother, and instead of helping the mother, she started questioning her why she's not run some errands for her. And when I heard about this, it was quite upsetting for me because you would think that at that age they will understand how hard it is to run the household. But imagine the scenario this way. If the teenage child, saw their mother being poorly and went to the mother and said, "Oh ma, I understand how bad you must feel. I know how bad it is to be poorly. Is there something I can get you? Or do you need me to do something?" Think of how the mother would feel and how the situation would be completely different. Instead of having a fit about why you've not run some errands for me while you're still unwell, to how can I help you get better? Or is there anything I can do for you to make you feel better? Now, that's another example of having a world of a difference just by learning how to empathize. So if the teenage daughter could have empathized with her mother, the situation would have been very different. Now, these two scenarios that we talked about encompass the three aspects of being aware of your emotions, being able to self-regulate it, and being able to empathize. So it is quite important for children to be taught these things, because otherwise, given the amount of time that they spend at home, which is very little of late except during this pandemic situation, it is important for them to be taught how to handle emotions, recognize them, and deal with them in a constructive way. And for this reason, at Agum-Agum, we have developed a course for children, and the course is called Feel and Deal. And I will be posting more information about this course shortly. But if you have any queries, then please write to us at veena@agumagum.com. You can find the email ID below this video as well. So I'll leave that with you to think about why it is important to teach emotional intelligence to our children. Thank you.